All right. Allow me to say, how are you all this evening? Time is a great time to exist.
Perfect.
What?
I love it. That's great.
They get up.
I told you.
She told me.
All right.
Sitting up.
Stay that way.
Okay, I promise.
No! You don't have to promise. You may sit however you wish.
Well, I'm sitting up because I want to now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item number 1.
One of my godsons, Nicholas is his name. He's 2 years old, and he was born with a cleft palate, and he's had a series of operations and things to get everything handled. And he's having an ear problem now, and they want it's something to do with his eardrum. It's not vibrating or something properly. And
It is also, in this way, something to do with the parents.
Okay.
And it is a symbol, to begin with, in that way, for them with regard to all the ideas of communication in and among themselves that they are exploring in this lifetime by agreement. The idea, again, of the sound, both in utterance and in reception. The communication between them now must take on, I would say, a more sincere form than it did in the previous life.
So they were connected, they were brothers, sisters, what were they in the previous life?
They have been a brother or sister, but they were also in that life, as you say, spouse to spouse.
Okay, great. Okay, as it relates to Nicholas, is there any medicinal thing that needs to...
At this time, no.
Okay, so it is not necessary for them to get this tube operation for his ear?
They may follow their feelings. It will allow them to explore their beliefs. Allow me to say at this time that we sense in their energy of creation of their reality, this will still be a primary requirement for them to go through that particular methodology, because it will again put them in touch with those ideas they have chosen to explore in this life. That is the symbol they have created to do so. Understand the child is their teacher and was their teacher.
Okay. Who is he, if I may ask?
Their teacher.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thanks. Next question. Don't go away. There has been a continuous keen shrill that I have been hearing inside of my head that seems to take on a very spiritual-like quality.
You are not alone.
Okay.
Many individuals have begun to experience or have experienced this idea many times. Understand that the particular mode of which you are speaking in that way is simply tapping into the transmission, in a sense, which is always ongoing.
Well,
the transmission between other levels of consciousness and your own mass consciousness upon your planet. That vibration represents when you are, to some degree consciously, in your terms, tapping in to that vibration.
I notice when I'm not, when I'm busily doing things and I'm not as centered, I don't hear it. But as soon as I begin to get centered, it pops in. Right now, I even hear it, and it's something that I was afraid of at first, and then now I guess I have an expectation to hear it, which I guess I shouldn't be expecting it, but...
You have a third item.
Yeah, okay. There's a house on the hill of Mulholland Drive. It's here in Los Angeles, and one of the guys that I spoke with you about and I seem to have something connected to this house. It has a lot of small old columns, and I used to see pictures of it quite a lot. And then when I saw the house, we both just right away we recognized this particular structure.
Then enjoy your exploration. We will not illuminate you further. Understand that you are in the process of an unfoldment. Discover those portions of yourself that will emerge from that process. We will not interfere nor affect the outcome by introducing an idea into your mentality through which you would then scrutinize your experience. Feel it, live it.
Okay, well, other than the fact that I wanted to just ask you something about it, I pretty much had decided that whatever, it was something that had to do with last life had to, or some other life, and that's just that.
More not the house specifically, but the association with your friend is what is bringing back associations within the structure as it symbolically represents certain other ideas that you did share in the other lives.
Okay.
It is sufficing as a recreation of a similar structure in which other types of drama were played out between you.
Oh.
It is a new stage.
Okay, I'll give somebody else a shot. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, let me say that, or ask you, have you attempted in this way to utilize immersion in warm or hot water? Not you.
Oh, this
Yes, I have.
How does that allow you to feel?
Feels real good. I've been using Epsom salts too.
All right. Very good.
I've been planning on doing that every, say, twice a week. I haven't decided how long I would do that.
Try 3 times a day.
So, for how long at each time?
10 to 15 of your minutes.
Okay. Will this then solve the problem in its entirety?
Can, yes.
Okay.
And it will, in that meditative state, allow you also to come to, I'll say, 2 or 3 realizations within your own imagination in terms of ingestment of certain juices, vegetables, and fruits that also will assist to some degree.
Okay.
Feel the vibration and allow yourself this undertaking for approximately 2 of your weeks.
All right. My physician is of the opinion that the body is not equipped to deal with this in a way that would create a change back to its normal state. So I don't believe that.
It will not be back to a normal state. It will be its own complete new idea.
Okay.
Now, allow me to say that if in your meditation you find that you do come up with an agreement in terms of the methodology suggested by your physician, then do it. But allow me to suggest that if you give yourself the opportunity, you will find that your body is capable of anything, since it created it in that way within itself by your consciousness to begin with.
Yes, that is what I really believe. And I was thinking of various other tools other than medical approach that would help me to assist myself in the healing process.
To some degree, you can also take advantage in minimal quantities of the idea you call camphor.
Ingested?
No.
Topically?
Yes.
Okay. Any particular way to prepare that?
Warm cloth, wet, hot. Also, what you term to be almond extract. Very little bit ingested, again, also topically.
Okay. 2 or 3 times a day?
No more than 2 ingested, can be 3 if topical. The camphor, primarily, 3 times.
All right.
And the visualization along with it of the idea of drawing out motion within and the visualization of the idea of the process that you call osmosis.
Okay.
All right?
Yes. So I have one more question about this, and hang on. Oh, you said it would return, it would not return, but rather change to a state that would be perfect for itself. Would this,
It will seem as if, in your vernacular, it has gone back to being normal.
Okay.
But understand that is not the idea. It does not go back.
I do understand that, yes. Function would be normal.
Yes.
Other aspects would be apparently normal.
Yes.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes.
There's a couple of psychic surgeons coming in this weekend to perform their surgery on different people. I've had this done before, some time ago by Feliciano, who now is deceased. And it turned out very well. I see I've seen this happen. I've seen the way they do it, but it's still a mystery to me of how they can do it.
All right, now understand there are many variations of this idea, all the way from what you term to be a true experience to the idea of outright fraud. Recognize, however, that there will be incidents with these individuals that will be, in this way, a co-creation for certain individuals who do wish to prove fraud. So there will be, to some degree, a little bit of tension, a little bit of friction, and certain ideas will not go according to plan. Allow me also to say that you will find, rarely, an individual upon your planet who does, in a sense, actually perform the idea you call psychic surgery. Even when they are performing it as you think they are, it is not still exactly as you understand physicality to function. It is also a product and, I'll say, a process of the astral state as well. When an individual is, in a sense, creating that scenario with what you term to be sleight of hand, you will still find that some of these individuals know exactly what they are doing. They are in this way pretending, so to speak, to remove something from the body, but they know it is not that they have to remove anything from the body, but that the placement, again, by what you term to be surreptitious means of blood upon the body, upon the fingers, from outside the body, will cause your physiological form to go into what you term to be shock. And in that state, you are very suggestive to your own beliefs, and you will cure yourself. That is how, I will say, 80 to 90% of what you term to be psychic surgery actually occurs. In this way, you will find that is why many individuals who do not understand that what is occurring, in a sense, is a form of self-curing hypnosis, will simply point out that the entire idea is fraudulent based upon the fact that no one is pulling anything out of your body. And thus many times have proven that this is the case. But they are missing the point. It is, in that sense, the same or similar to the idea your own medical practitioners use in what they call placebo effect. The belief of the patient does the curing. It is assisted by, in a sense, the creation of an atmosphere into which the patient can project an unlocking of their belief structure and a relocking into another frame of reference, thus emerging as a new being that does not contain the old idea of the disease.
So, my friend Feliciano, I had a tremendous, well, it was a cancer, not tremendous, it was a small cancer on the end of my nose, and he, just like that, was gone. Also, he reached back here and took out a spur on the back of my neck, which I had felt for years, and after that, when he laid at my hand, it was gone.
All right. Now understand again that that individual was exercising power. Also recognize many times that what you term to be psychic surgery is only another name for what you already recognize to be straightforward energy healing. You follow me?
Yes.
And that individual was able in this way to energy heal. Some of your individuals will simply be outright fraudulent, not understanding the principle and not caring to. You follow me?
Yes.
Well, does that answer your question?
Would it be possible for you to look at the two that's coming in to see what they are?
For the most part, they believe in what they are doing. But allow me to say they are still, in this way, as we said, co-creating with other individuals who are looking for fraudulent ideas and experience which may seem to create fraudulence in the eyes of the public which they surround themselves with. They do believe in what they are doing. They do have the ability to do it by the methodology we described in terms of the, I'll say, assistance of the changing of the belief of the patient so that they can cure themselves. But this is an opportunity also for them to continue to create the idea for themselves of testing their faith in themselves.
So if a person wanted to co-create a healing with these people with disability, then it could be done.
Yes. Now understand that an individual who chooses to create that for their reality in any case can even quote-unquote be cured by someone who is completely fraudulent, because it is simply their wish to believe it is not. Thus they cure themselves. And in this way, that is why you will find that many times there are conflicting ideas of reports from these experiences. Because even in those experiences, wherein the individual is really not concerned per se with the health of the individual that they are treating, many times they will still find that certain individuals that come to them will cure themselves. Many times this can also change their minds about what they are doing.
And you can also turn that around, and if a person wants to go in to prove that the guy is fraudulent, he would then be able to not co-create.
He will not be cured, no matter what.
And then he can prove the guy was fraudulent if he...
To his own reality, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Understand in this way. You get the results you design the experiment for.
Right.
Question.
We have a television show here called Star Trek. There's an event that takes place that they call beaming, in which a body is disintegrated and then is beamed down to another place. And my question is that technology, does that technology exist?
Yes.
Does it exist on your planet?
Yes. It also exists on yours, and has for many years, though you do not know it.
Is it possible for me to find out about it? Not my capacity, but is it
to some degree? Allow me to suggest there would be those that would not find favor in your attempts to do so. Primarily what you term to be the military of your planet.
And they have developed that ability?
Somewhat. Recognize in this way, it has been achieved 2 to 3 times upon your planet by technological means. though in your terminology somewhat crude, out of control. It has been achieved.
Oh, but it's not controllable in the way we see it.
No.
But on your planet it is controllable
Yes.
in that way. And is that the form of transportation often used on your planet?
Not always. Understand in this way, we still create the idea you call spacecraft, and many times they will simply, in this sense, be utilized to come down to the surface of the planet and entered from that point. There will be opportunities for the idea you call beaming in certain instances, but it is not always used.
How about if you're on the surface of your planet and you want to go to another point on the surface of the planet?
This can be done. However, you'll find that though this does occur in our civilization, again, it is relatively restricted. In the sense, again, of what you term to be power utilization, and also what is termed in that way simply safety factors.
Is there the possibility of a person getting reassembled incorrectly?
It is possible.
Is it a high probability?
It has not happened yet for us.
I see.
We do not assume that it will. But we know it is a possibility.
Well, would it be possible for you? Would it be possible for you to describe so that we could build such machinery?
Only to some degree. There is not within the channel the terminology to be able to translate into your language many of the ideas contained therein, except in a very general way. Realize we are not speaking your language.
Right, I understand. I would accept if you'd be willing, briefly, a general description of how it's accomplished.
Now, to some degree, understand that the methodology utilized in our system differs from what you have used, and in this sense, what you term to be beaming is not exactly what we do. Though we do have that system, it is mostly utilized for what you term to be cargo. You follow me?
Got it, yes.
In this way, the process of quote-unquote beaming an individual is different and is more akin, as you say, to the process by which our spacecraft achieve the idea you call instantaneous transportation or hyper jump in your language. In this way, understand that in terms of the quote-unquote philosophy of the idea, simply you can begin to understand everything is vibrational. And in this way recognize that everything that you call a solid object is a product of its vibrational signature. Contained within that signature is also the idea you call location itself. We do not view objects as occupying space. We view that location is a property of the object.
Got it.
Thus, it has its own unique vibration. Original experimentation upon this idea required having two identical objects, similar in every possible way they could be made similar, other than the fact that they were two separate objects, thereby having two locational identities. Thus, the vibrational pattern, through the equipment at that time that had been created in our society, was able to detect the difference in the signature pattern, isolate that particular wave pattern idea, form a field around that object, and I'll say impress upon it or remove from it one signature and replace it with another. Thus, when it is unlocked from the limbo state or field out of third dimensional reality and comes back into third dimensional reality, it must, of definition, take up residence at the new locational signature with which it has been impressed. Thus, it is not that it travels between the 2 points. It simply, in your terms, ceases to exist at point A and continues to exist at point B, there being no intervening points of time that were created for it to experience.
I got it.
Now, you'll find that there will be, again, electromagnetic pulses, which at this time, allow me to say, you can generate to some degree with some of your equipment, but not in a controllable fashion. Recognize that in your civilization, the largest scale event with regards to this particular type of experiment has been labeled by you as what you call the Philadelphia experiment. Are you familiar with this idea?
No.
In that way, in what you term to be your early period of the 1940s, in your terms of time, as you count time, a ocean military vessel was made to, in your terms, disappear from one locale, reappear at another, and then return to the original locale. There were many, many, many negative side effects, as what you term to be crew personnel were also involved in the magnetic field. Some died. Some died later. Some, in your terminology, went mad. Some had many different types of disorientation and dis-ease. It was, in your terminology, scrapped and hidden. You can find still, however, many references to it in your literature. Look it up.
Thank you. Was there a particular scientist that was behind that experiment?
There were several, yes. You will find some of these references again in your literature.
Okay. Thank you.
How did the government hide the death of these people, or how did they say something else happened? How did they?
In a sense, yes. They ascribed it to an accident. They did not describe the accident.
Mm-hmm.
Also understand that at that time, in that interdimensional state, began what you may consider, in a sense, to be your first, quote-unquote, modern contact with extraterrestrial consciousness. As you had opened up a doorway, a warp, into other dimensionality which recognized what you had done, and there was some mental communication within that event.
Got it.
Well, there is still a number of things being hidden. I mean, in as much as we're going to be making a decision soon, wouldn't that be important that we begin to start to really letting things out? And
You will. You already have begun to do so to some degree. You will recognize that by what you term to be 1992 to 94, the majority of your population will be aware that your civilization has been in contact with extraterrestrial consciousness for some time. This will then allow what you term to be your government to release more information. But understand, it is a matter of you recognizing yourselves to be your own government and taking your responsibility for yourself back. Very good. Of course. Yes?
Bashar, I have a quick question about what you were just describing, and you mentioned the term power utilization. Can you explain that a little more within the reference you used it?
Simply in this way, recognize that this particular manifestation you call beaming, for us, in that way, requires very intensified, concentrated modulation of electromagnetic fields, which requires much power. You follow me?
Yeah, so far you mean personal power or power of your
machine.
What you term to be mechanical power.
Okay.
That is all.
And therefore, sometimes it's not cost effective to do it.
Not so much cost effective. Simply in this way, you will find that when we recognize a fluctuation in the power curve or utilization, we will recognize that it is in this way not, in your terminology, safe to use. Understand there is still for us within this technology some degree of balancing taking place, because the wave fluctuation that is tapped to create that particular manifestation is directly linked with the interdimensional fabric. Thus, any fluctuation will create doorways that are not necessarily controllable. We will simply shut down and reassess the timing.
Could you explain a little bit more the tapping into the interdimensionality as the source of the power to accomplish being?
Allow me to say, we are not sure that we can without a foundation, first in many different ideas or fields, some of which your civilization is somewhat familiar, some of which they are not.
Mm-hmm. A whole different question then. In reading the raw materials, they speak of a Council of Saturn.
Yes?
You are familiar with this?
Yes.
As a council that mediates, that makes decisions regarding who and what will be allowed to penetrate the shield and come to Earth.
In a sense, yes, to some degree. Though it is not quite so, quote-unquote, judgmental as you might think from your perspective.
I know I wasn't including the idea of judgment. Also in the raw materials, that Ra says that there have not been sixth density beings on Venus for a long time. I'm curious what your perception is of those beings on Venus now, what density they're in.
Our perception of that energy at this time is that they have begun to make a transference to another octave altogether. That which you may, in this way, call beyond seventh or eighth.
How high can you go? I mean,
there are octaves upon octaves, are there not?
Yes, it is infinite.
It's infinite. Oh.
But the third density, well, first, second, and third densities are the only densities that are in physical form as we know.
No, fourth also has a physicalized form to some degree. Beyond that is non-physical. Fifth, sixth, and seventh are non-physical.
Now, if in the next octave up from ours, would the first, second, third, and fourth also again be physical?
No.
I see. So this is the first octave that we're in?
You are in third density, yes, first octave.
The bottom.
In a sense. But again, as we said, it is not a judgmental idea.
No, I understand.
It is simply, in this way, the greatest, in your terms, opportunity for condensing your experience. You follow me?
Yes.
Well, something I don't understand.
All right.
If I thought we were moving into the fourth density.
You are.
Okay, and if we are in the first octave.
Third density.
In third density. Oh, okay. Going in that direction.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Next octave.
Okay. See, I don't linearly think anymore.
All right.
Hanging out with you so much.
All right. You do already, all of you exist on every level that there is to exist. And in this sense, you may say that there are still consciousness associated with the idea you call Venus in sixth density, simply that their concentration of focus is no longer there. Therefore, in your vernacular, they are not there. You follow me?
Yes.
Just as your concentration of focus is no longer in second density, though on some level, portion of you is still there.
Got it.
Does this mean that there's a third density in a second octave?
In a sense, but it is not physicalized. It is a whole other idea.
How would you term that?
We do not know.
Okay.
We are not there.
Okay.
Does the degree of technological advancement of a civilization, is that an operative factor in a civilization moving up through the densities?
To some degree, technology does not have to be expressed in the ways you have created it, however. Recognize that there are beings who, in a sense, have quote-unquote space travel with almost nothing of what you would term to be technology, but by direct projection of their mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It is every bit as real, just as experiential, just as knowledge-gathering.
Are those beings in third density or a higher density?
Higher.
Higher. Like Ra is sixth density, he
Yes.
says, and they have traveled in that way. They
Yes.
simply appear.
Yes.
But for example, you have said that you estimate that your civilization is about 300 years ahead of ours. Sirius about 300 years ahead of yours.
By analogy, yes.
In Ra, the answer to a similar question was, the Pleiadians
Yes.
estimate that they are 3,000
Yes.
years ahead of us.
Yes.
Whoosh. And yet they're still in third density.
In a sense, part of them is not.
We're apart.
That does kind of...
The other density parts. Understand this is not a facetious answer. Simply recognize that our civilization as well views itself from time to time as already existing in other densities. We choose to function in third as well as some of the others to some degree, though what you would term to be the bulk of the idea of ourself as we present ourselves to you is still being presented through third density. In this way, recognize that Pleiadians also have cognizant reflections of themselves in fourth and fifth density structures as a civilization.
So when we go into fourth, we could still then operate in third if we so choose?
To some degree, you will have the option in certain ways to project yourself into that past idea of yourself in much the same manner I am projecting myself to my past idea. That which you experienced before you as the physical channel. My past idea of myself.
Right.
Bashar, are you familiar with superstring theory?
To some degree. We understand your vernacular to some degree.
Okay. Would you say it has validity as it describes?
There are elements of it that are in this way in accord to our perception as well. There are elements of the idea you call also supersymmetry, which are in accord to somewhat that idea. It is, in a sense, beyond both, and, in a sense, quite a bit simpler than you think.
In other words, these theories are complexified?
To some degree, a little bit, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Question.
Yes, does a jump through hyperspace as a form of space travel depend on the awareness, if you will, the awareness level of the people on the ship?
Those that control it, yes.
But not the passengers?
No.
So, for example, would it be possible for one of us
Yes.
to travel with you to your planet?
Yes.
And could these bodies live on your planet?
There will be a slight adjustment made in the trip, but basically, yes.
When?
So your atmosphere is
To some degree, yes.
similar enough so our bodies could live there.
Yes. You will find in this way that it will differ only by a few percentage points in all of those you term to be gases.
Interesting.
When can we arrange this?
Question.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a limerick? Or ever heard a limerick?
We understand the concept from the channel's memory.
Would you like to hear one?
if you wish to share.
Okay. Most of them are sexually oriented, but I have.
Do you mean there was a young lady?
Yes. Most of them are sexually oriented, but I have.
They all start that way, don't they?
I have one that's technologically oriented.
Do you mean from Bright?
Yes. Not from, but named.
All right.
Would you like to hear it now?
Go ahead.
Okay. There was a young lady named Bright, whose speed was much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and returned on the previous night.
Very good.
Do you have one?
We do not have limerick.
Bashar,
Yes.
I had this some time ago. It occurred to me, as a bright idea, if you will, that it would help in the evolution of consciousness that is occurring on Earth, and that it is desired by many people here and elsewhere to accelerate this development, that it would help in the acceleration of the development if certain individuals were taken from this planet, off the planet to other civilizations, to have an experience different from earthbound experience.
You think so, do you?
And then returning here,
We know what you are saying.
be in a better position to
We know
accelerate
what
the
you are
consciousness.
saying.
Okay, what do you think about that idea?
That seems to annoy you a lot. Why?
Does not annoy me.
What happened?
I think
Something happens to you when
Well, just a minute. Forget about that. I'm interested in the answer. It is my opinion, perception, belief, that it would assist in the acceleration of the evolution of consciousness.
But then aren't you making those trips or the individuals better than what we are right now? Isn't the idea to accept ourselves as we are right now and not feel that we have to go someplace else?
You're entitled to your opinion. I have my opinion, and I'm interested in your opinion, Bashar.
All right. Now, first of all, yes, to some degree, it has already occurred with some individuals. Very, very few.
Mm-hmm.
like walk-ins?
No. Understand also that for the most part, this occurs more frequently than you think in your out-of-body states during dreaming.
Agreed. But I was thinking more in terms of in-body states.
We understand.
Okay.
However, at this time, you will find that for the most part, for at least what we perceive to be the next 5 to 10 of your years, this will not be, in your terminology, advantageous.
I see.
Understand at this time that the major, in your terms, idea is that you learn that there is no advantage in our societies over yours. You have all it takes to have what you want on this planet. It is up to you to determine that that is your choice. We have no advantage.
No.
And you would find that an individual in that way, taken to our civilizations, upon being returned, would also have no advantage. As they, if they were in synchronous harmony with our civilizations, would understand that all of the paths that have been chosen upon your planet are serving the purpose of the unfoldment of your momentum towards your transformation, exactly as you are unfolding them.
It was not the idea of deriving advantage from some other specific civilization, but merely the opportunity to gain an exterior viewpoint of what was going on Earth, to be better equipped to deal with it. In other words, it was the fact of removal from, not the removal to, that I felt the advantage would come from.
We understand. Your concept of an overview is something that you are already creating by simply discussing it.
I understand.
You would not have any greater sense of that overview. You follow me? You already have the idea of an overview. Use it.
Thank you.
Acting upon that perception of the overview you already have is what will make possible the idea of sharing space. You follow me?
Yes. Nevertheless, it's something that I find that I do desire.
Yes, and it is something that will be. Thank you.
Bashar, are you aware of the craft activity in our area?
Yes.
Are they the round craft I'm familiar with? There was a big triangular one, kind of weird looking. I saw it, and it wasn't the conventional look that we have of a spaceship. I think few people saw it.
Yes.
You know what kind of craft that was?
Yes.
What was it?
Triangular? That's suspicious.
Oh, you think so? Have you heard of that before?
I heard from Daryl from the channel.
The energy is unusually intense today.
Yes, it is.
You're in the
Yes.
So you're in the neighborhood again. Couldn't find parking.
We have in what you term to be parking orbit.
A reserve space.
What are you here for?
Observation. Sensing of the energy of the transformation.
Are you monitoring the Pleiadian activity?
To some degree.
Daryl mentioned that he was a little bit feverish, a little stronger than usual. Does that have to do more with
Yes.
being around? Yeah. Okay.
What decision was he talking about when he said we're getting to make a decision? What decision is that?
Within your society, the idea of choosing what reality you wish to experience upon your planet for you. Each having your own decisions to make with regard to the type of reality you wish to experience in the overall sense. What type of reality you choose to know that certain things become more probable within, such as connection to other consciousness, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now understand that you are proceeding through your transformation, and that there are many, many, many civilizations partaking, watching, sharing, and being very, very, very connected to the outcome of your decisions in many different ways. Recognize that because of the condensation of your experience, of the compaction, the intensity level of your experience, your connection to other doorways of dimensionality is very, very abrupt. And you do, in this way, co-create and co-affect many other civilizations you are not necessarily physically in proximity to. Now understand that there was an event in what you term to be your solar system, many, in your terms, millions of your years ago. This particular system is connected to other systems through energy gates in such a way that what occurs here has a great effect in a much farther reaching manner than you suppose. This is why it is such an intensified reality. Do you follow me?
Yes. Was that the creation of the asteroid belt?
Yes.
Okay.
This way, that civilization destroyed itself in the same manner that you could have chosen to also. Understand that is why we had told you for some time, as many other consciousnesses had told you for some time, that though we would in no way, shape, or form, quote-unquote, interfere in your society, that would be the only exception. If you were to annihilate yourself in what you term to be nuclear fashion. However, It is no longer necessary to connect to you in that way, as you have already made the decision yourselves to not do this.
How many millions of years ago?
Approximately in your terms, 6. Though you will find that our scale of time and yours will be difficult to translate for us at times.
Okay.
What's the point of the consistency of playing the game in the Cold War between the U.S. and Russia?
Understand that it is escalating in a manner that now allows you to know you are free to, in a sense, bring all of these ideas of negative reality up, face them, deal with them, live through them, and in this way integrate and incorporate them in such a way that you will not need to experience them in your new age. You can now allow yourself a little bit more free rein with such negative expression because you know it will not lead to annihilation. That is why you can allow it to accelerate to some degree. So you will reach a focal point and have to come to your decision points, where you make your choices. What type of reality do you wish to experience? Become that reality now. And you will find that the transformation for you in that way will be experienced with an ease of creation, without needing to give yourself opportunities to experience the transformation in what you term to be trials by fire. Now, we have said many times, practice time is over. In this way, recognize that your mentality of your entire civilization is becoming set as to exactly how it is going to jump through that transformation point. But the individuals within yourselves can, in this way, allow themselves to ride the crest of that wave, rather than feel they need to be drowned or swamped by the intensity of the experience. Become that reality. Become the wave itself. And you will allow the vibration to pass through you in the same manner that a wave passes through the water without actually displacing any liquid.
While we're on the subject, there seems to be, in my life, more of a connecting up of people with all that is.
What a surprise. What a coincidence.
Let me finish. Okay. Well, the point is, even though people tend to, well, because of the ego or whatever, we tend to on this planet to sort of brush it under the rug. It's kind of a thing that's begun to be even more verbalized. And I have wondered if that in itself, just that idea, will that be enough to carry us through whatever it is we're going through?
In a sense, depends on how willing you are to live it. That is why we say, do not think about it, act it out. Be the reality. Act as if you have already made the transformation. Then it will not be in the future, but in the present for you. And by the time the transformation occurs across the board for your entire mentality, you'll already be there. You will acclimate that much more easily to the energy, to the shifting.
Bashar. Speaking of intense energy, probably 4 to 6 weeks ago, I suggested to a friend that he come by for a Wednesday night channeling. And he came up and experienced what he said, intense energy, and he got goosebumps, and he felt very much afraid. And it was during a period of fairly strong Orion energy into this area. And his name is Marty. Could you tell me what occurred with him?
Simply that, many times, you will find that when faced with the energy vibrations of the idea of transformation, which many times we send to you as we are speaking with you, you come face to face with portions of yourself that you do not like, that you judge, that you separate from yourself, and thus, in this way, by entering that field, are forcing yourself to face certain ideas of fear and rejection. You have only to live through them, to experience them. The fear will vanish. Now, this is also in many ways another reason why there is not more face-to-face contact upon your planet at this time. Understand that the majority of individuals upon your planet do not want this. Understand that we are not, as you say, bragging, but the idea of an individual who is not willing to know themselves to be integrated, standing in the auric field of one who knows him or herself to be so, many times will be caught up in that vibration and, in a sense, forced to face themselves. Thus, many of the experiences that your individuals upon your planet have had with beings from other planets, that they describe to be in this way frightening or negative, was because they were looking at portions of themselves they had kept buried for so long, because they were brought out by the vibration of being in proximity to a reality which considers itself to be an integrated whole.
Kind of like, could you analogize by saying, I'm going to use the terms good and bad. A bad person standing in the light of a good person compares his badness with the other person's goodness, and therefore the badness is more
intensified.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Another question, briefly. I'm discovering that the choices that my outer aware ego consciousness makes combines in a fine balance with the choices of my higher consciousness in a way that they both listen to each other, as well as my portions integrate also with the mass consciousness of the planet in such a way to make all the choices work out. So I can affect my higher conscious choices by decisions I make in my outer aware ego states.
Only in a sense.
Well, yeah, when I say I affect, I don't mean to say that I have total control over it, but I notice that I do influence it, because if I make a decision, then my higher consciousness integrates that decision into the timing and all the other decisions that are made.
Yes.
And it's a very fine balance.
Yes.
Thank you.
What's happening with the channel before us now?
Your question?
Sorry.
Do not be sorry.
Yes, Bashar, the craft that I saw this afternoon, was that your craft?
Yes.
Thank you. Was that, what it appeared through my physical eyes was almost chrome-like. What would give that appearance?
The reflectivity of the field around the craft.
I see. And I also seemed to see red and blue coloring.
Again, simply the energy within the field.
I see.
The harmonics.
Is that a triangular shaped craft?
Yes.
It's very beautiful to watch with the physical eyes today. I saw it briefly. Nice to see you in the neighborhood. In the physical form.
Stop by anytime.
It's Bashar.
One moment.
Explain what's going on.
What is being experienced is another level of blending of consciousness, particularly because we are so close.
How long are you going to hang around?
We will still, by what you term to be next Monday of your time, be in your relative vicinity. However, on that night, I will be in not my own craft, but one of our mother craft.
Which is where? Well, forget about where it is. I mean, will we get to maybe see the mother craft?
No.
Where could we go to see you? Your scout ship or whatever craft it was today.
At this time, you will not.
Okay.
How big is that mother craft?
Thank you for reading my mind.
I don't want to be insulted.
in this way, in what we perceive to be the translation of your measurement system, approximately 6,000 of your feet.
Is it triangular too?
No, cylindrical,
6,000 square feet.
long.
That's over a mile.
It is not one of the bigger ones. They approximate what you term to be. Approximate 10 of your miles.
Wow. How long does it take to grow one of those things, the big one?
This will vary according to purpose of craft, but approximately in this way. What you term to be the shell structure of the smaller craft will be approximately, in your terms, 3 months. The larger craft in this way can, depending upon purpose, take up to 3 of your years.
This is the actual crystal growing process?
Yes, and understand that in this way, many ideas are incorporated into the structure itself. It is not simply a matter of growing a shell.
Right.
Everything is incorporated into the structure.
When you say everything, you're speaking of instrumentation?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is built out in space?
The larger ones, yes. Some of the smaller craft, scout craft, can be constructed upon the surface of the planet. But again, they are in a sense grown. Recognize that what we are describing is the formation of an energy field matrix, and in this way the ejection of material, crystal and metal material in this way, many other types of material upon that matrix, so that it forms too the energy field and thus grows in crystalline fashion upon that energy structure or template. Thus, you will find that even though the material of what you term to be the hull will be in your terms paper thin, it cannot be bent because it was designed and conformed to an energy template which was represented in another dimensional state. And you cannot bend that template.
I got it. This growth process includes your instrumentation, is that correct?
To some degree, although there are a few steps in which some of the instrumentation is actually inserted. Then the crystalline process continued.
Sure, that state that other dimension, is that the Everstat plane?
Your terminology in this way does not translate.
I see. I don't know any other. I've heard this from another channeling called the Everstat or Everstatic plane.
In a sense, you may understand we simply call it the template.
I see. Thank you.
And how many years has it been since that technology was developed? And how long in any measurement?
Approximately, in your terms, what we are now utilizing to some degree, between 175 to 250 of your years.
Bashar, in the actual, before the ship is set out, or the template is set out, who, in what capacity, or what capacities are there that do this? Is it like the scientists, or a combination of your various fields of science?
In a sense, yes. It is also my own field.
The one who would be using it. So
in your terminology, you may refer to me to some degree, aside from other ideas, that I also perform as an engineer.
Oh, so it's like a blending of consciousnesses that...
Yes, to some degree. Though there will be, to some degree, again, certain aspects of familiarization with certain ideas that not all beings upon our planet choose to share, though they can understand the basic principles telepathically.
Well, when I meant blending of consciousness, I meant of those certain individuals in those fields who...
Yes, to some degree. There is at a certain point also the identification of certain individuals who will be considered to be pilots with the craft itself. So there will be a direct blending and identification of consciousness between that of the pilot and that of what you would term to be the self-aware computer.
Right, I do understand that.
The present technology you have for growing the ship, you said, has been around for, say, 175 to 250, but it was preceded by other stages of development.
Yes. Some of which you are only just beginning to experiment with yourselves. Rotational mechanics, electromagnetic fields in that way. These ideas can lead you in a very similar direction. You have just begun to realize there are different crystalline forms into which you can put quasi-crystal metallic materials into reality. You are progressing along similar lines.
Do the Pleiadians use a similar technology to yours to construct their ships?
To some degree, though you will find it is in this way more a projection of consciousness than a mechanical process.
For them?
Yes. It is in this way, to their understanding, if we may use free translation, the sounding of a bell that creates the shell. This way, it is a harmonious synchronization of many energy patterns and vibrations that simply bring from one density into another the entire idea intact.
Bashar, could you describe or give a definition again for that word quasi? I looked that up again the other day, and the definition in the dictionary just didn't ring the bell with me.
Neither one nor the other completely, a blending, a shifting back and forth, and a sharing of ideas from many different levels of understanding.
To create a new level?
In a sense, it is the unlocking space, limbo. Briefly.
Is there a connection between the Pleiadian complex and Lyra?
And what?
Lyra, whatever.
There is to some degree, yes.
Well, where I'm coming from is
it is mostly a connection of your particular faction of beings upon your planet. Though, because the Pleiadians do share some identity vibration with you in this way, and some offshoot soul history, there is a connection.
Soul history, well, that's interesting. Was there ever a time when some portion of the Pleiadian complex was blown up or anything like that?
Not in our perception. Not directly in their systems.
There are two books that document contact between the Pleiadians and Swiss people.
Yes.
And in that book it is reported that the civilization that now populates several planets around in the Pleiadian star system originally came from the star system that we call Lyra, and that
did you.
And that they blew themselves up. But
this is all the way back then.
Yes, several thousand years ago.
More than that.
Okay. How long ago?
Not as Pleiadians, no. And this is what we are saying you share as the soul history offshoot.
So there is no Lyra anymore?
It is now what you term to be an extinct system, in the sense that you recognize it to have been an exploded system.
And so when people, their advantage at the time when they blew themselves up was that they had already developed space travel. So some of the people migrated to what is now the Pleiadian system, and
yes.
You're saying that some of the people migrated to Earth?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Are the stars in the Pleiadian system
There you go also
actually a star system, or do they just appear that way from our viewpoint?
There are many, I'll say, systems within that conglomerate. Understand, however, that very few of them are in close proximity to each other, unless in this way you will simply understand that they are separated by several hundred, sometimes thousands, of what you term to be light years.
Yes, it was. Of course, they appear very close.
Not all of them have what you term to be, in that way, systems upon which exists the Pleiadian culture. but you simply refer to the entire idea because that particular viewpoint or collection of stars from your perspective does contain some of those systems.
Okay, that makes sense. When a star goes supernova, is that a natural phenomenon, or is that a...
Yes.
Okay. Not where a civilization is blown up with stars.
A civilization might,
Okay.
but usually no.
Okay.
Bashar?
Quickly.
And then we're going to take a break?
Yes.
Good. I just want to make a statement that yesterday, during my meditation, I had the whole imaging and feeling of being like when you ride waves in the ocean. And it's interesting because you were talking about kind of that imagery earlier.
Yes.
And I've had dreams like that. I remember a dream where in the dream I was riding waves in the water, and as a child when I used to do that, when I'd go down to the Jersey Shore, that was when I felt like total abandonment. When I was riding waves, it's a feeling that I haven't allowed myself a lot in life, that I feel like I want to now have more of. It's just being with the ocean and nothing else was happening. And it was a wonderful feeling.
Very good.
So I had fun with that.
Thank you.
Feeling.
Thank you. You may now all flow into your break.
Yeah.
All right. A lovely day. Sin.
Yes.
If you will, prepare what you term to be pad or solid writing surface with individual sheets of your paper upon it, and what you term to be your pencil or pen. One is a pen with ink that flows smoothly.
Right. I have that.
In this way, the sheets of paper should be not connected, but merely laying on top of the solid surface,
Okay.
so they can be removed without tearing.
All right. Free enough?
Yes,
Okay.
very good.
I have that.
Be sure that the solid surface upon which the papers lay will be strong enough, solid enough to sit upon the lap of the channel.
I better get something that's maybe a bit more solid.
Proceed.
Okay. Excuse me.
We are thus in the formation of the blending, which will begin to increase from this night forward as you count time, able now to make connections with the attributes already contained within the physical channel to such degree, in that sense that we can form a little bit more of integration, which will allow there to be what you term to be slightly more natural manipulation of the physical form of the channel, in such manner that we can thus produce with our conversation some of what you term to be diagrams for you.
Oh,
Great. I have that now.
Place that gently into the lap of the physical channel.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to get a treat tonight.
All right. The lap of the channel is slanted, so, all right.
Place within the implement You may disconnect from the field.
Right.
But you may recognize that we will, in what you term to be internal configuration, thus so produce that which you call equilateral, and the sectioning of the corners in such a way as to produce hexagonal interior cabin, do you follow, of the triangular ship. In this way, in each of what you term to be the points of the triangle will be the majority of the machinery, with the exception of the direct power drive in the center, which you would recognize as power pole, from floor to ceiling and through each thereof, extending to the externals of the ship. In this way, also understand that the sections on the points, each in themselves triangular, will be in this way in straight mode, as you would say, flat within the plane of the equilateral triangle for what you term to be typical mode of travel, within atmosphere, outside atmosphere for regular movement. Thus, in this way, recognize that there will be opportunity for the idea of what you term to be the bending of these portions in a downward fashion, as if then looking upon edge in normal mode, looking upon edge in altered mode. Do you follow so far?
Yes.
That each of the points in thus bending downward, forming to a certain degree, not all what you term 90, but then approximately, in a sense, 30 of the level, will form the ability for the craft to achieve in that sense what is termed to be the idea of hypermode. Do you follow?
Yes.
In this way will be the condensation of the energy field and focusing therein so as to create a triangulation of the energy field to as penetrate the idea of the density, thus therein the hyperspace field, and to form the blending and synchronization with the field therein. Do you follow?
Yes.
I'm going to hold the paper so it doesn't. Would you like me to hold it so it doesn't shift while you write?
Thus approximating in the triangular form the idea you call approximately 40 feet on the side, approximately 6 feet in thickness. There is also the other form. In this way, many forms, you will find one to approximate a more curvilinear form of triangle with pod extensions seen from above, then more this fashion. Do you follow?
Yes.
Though in cross section you'll find there will be the bending of the form more in this way rather than flat. Do you follow?
Yes.
And the extension of the cabin in that sense below the form. Do you follow?
Yes.
One more.
Interior will show, as we have said, floor to ceiling, the power pole connection wherein is rotational energy, rotational dynamic, thus being supplied by crystalline form, embedded surface exterior of craft, whereupon the gathering of light energy transformed through flash matrix into the rotational form within the power pole, thus channeled to step up, as you say, stations, thus channeled to, in a radiant fashion, through the hull of the ship into the transformational matrix to what you term to be disconnective field, microwave energy field, as you would understand that terminology, which forms the unlocking field, the limbo state, the navigational state for the craft, transforming the metallic crystalline structure into one more, the idea you term to be etheric. Do you follow?
Yes.
In this way, you can allow me to suggest that this methodology will be something that we will be able to acclimate within time. We will simply, in this way, request that you may, if you wish, prepare the sheets each time of our meeting, and thus we will avail ourselves of their use when and where appropriate.
Would you be able to work on a board or something so everyone could see something that was set up so that some of the people here really couldn't see what you were drawing?
Yes.
Vertical board?
Okay.
Yes. If you will again supply smooth surface and implement through which ink flows freely.
Mm-hmm. Will do.
Question.
While you were doing that, I have really felt a very strong connection. I don't know if it's different from what I've been feeling, but I noticed when do you have to manipulate the energy such that it takes a lot of power for you to manipulate?
It is a balance and an adjustment. Not so much that it takes any more power, per se, but there is, in this way, direct, I'll say, co-manipulation that forms a delicate balance which must be maintained. That is the increased expenditure of focus. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
This will, again, reach acclimatization, as we must do it in accord to what the structural consciousness system of the physical channel can also accommodate.
Right. There's a change in the tonality of your voice. It was more monotone. What was the reason for that?
To facilitate the link, to allow it to remain stable in this way, we, in your terms, enlisted the amplification aid of the ship's computer.
Sounded like the computer.
Do you use money on your planet as we do? Is money a portion of
No.
it? Nor in the Pleiadian?
No. Recognize that our civilization functions within the idea of performing services exactly when and where they are needed in perfect timing. For the individuals that need them, they will be there. Therefore, there is no need to exchange that idea, which in and of ourselves is an exchange of service. We are always exactly where and when we need to be to perform whatever service we have for the individuals present, and they for us.
Right. There is a concept that's included as one of the many concepts that has been enunciated by Mr. Hubbard called the havingness scale, or it could also be described as a scale of responsibility. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
You may proceed, although we simply recognize that you are either cognizant of the fact that you are responsible for everything in your reality or you are not.
Mr. Hubbard has proposed that there is a gradient, a scale actually, of a graduated scale of more or less responsibility.
All right, but what you term to be gradient scales are a tool of your civilization. Recognizing this way, that our perception is such that every idea is in and of itself its own complete 100% manifestation, and not necessarily a part of a greater whole, in the overall sense of linear progression to the achievement of some idea you call perfection. In this way, we recognize that every idea is perfect unto itself, and that you can simply choose another idea. If you choose to look at it in a linear fashion, that is your choice. But one does not necessarily have to do with getting to the other.
I understand, but I'm bringing that up for a different reason.
All right.
It seems to me that on this planet, experiments that have been, they are called socialism on this planet, or various words, experiments along the lines of people acting in the manner in which you describe your civilization and Pleiadians operate, fail on this planet because people are not up to the level of responsibility necessary to make them succeed.
Exactly.
So therefore, money is almost, it's necessary to facilitate the interaction of people on this planet given their low responsibility level.
That is what you have created as a symbol of the interaction, yes. Though the interaction still takes place on other levels, you have created a symbol by which you can relate the idea of the exchange of forces between you. In the same manner that you have created the idea of the exchange of forces between the idea you call atoms, which also do not really exist.
So the concept of exchange is universal. It's present. People in your civilization are aware that an exchange is taking place. People are contributing to others and receiving. Okay.
Would that be more or less thought of in terms of support and exchange?
Yes. Of service.
Right.
But that can be viewed as an exchange. The exchange of one viewpoint with another. The sharing, in that way, of definitions of each other's path. You follow?
I do follow, but what has inevitably and almost always happened on this planet when...
You are only speaking of a very short period of time, even though you recognize it to compromise the majority of what you think to be your history.
That's true. Within the last...
25,000 or so.
Right. Within that period of time, and certainly I was thinking of more closely maybe within the last 2,000, 5,000 years.
Yes.
What happens is that the majority of the people wind up simply taking from and not contributing back to the whole.
Yes, because they are not taking responsibility for their own self-empowerment. They are expressing their feeling of helplessness and weakness, and not allowing themselves to express that they are as powerful as they need to be to have anything they want without taking nor forcing anything upon anyone else. Now, understand that, however, this is all still, as you say, part and parcel of the cycle that was begun 25,000 of your years ago. You have not yet broken out of that cycle, though now that is what you are doing. Every incident with regard to all the ideas of social experimentation have all occurred within that one cycle.
Okay.
Thus, they are all derivative of the idea to make the choice to experience the separation of the self from all that is, and experience judgment, greed, jealousy, separation, and all of that idea. Yes. That is why you are now creating the idea of your transformation. Because now you have experienced all those ideas of the negativity, and now you no longer need to. You can integrate, and you can create for yourself the choice of positive manifestation upon your planet without struggle, without strife. You can express in your physical reality the ease of creation itself.
Are there other civilizations that are going through a similar cycle of experiencing greed and separation?
Oh, yes. Many.
Let me ask.
So Earth is not unique in that regard.
No. Allow me to say, however, in our experience, it is one of the more intensified ones.
Got it.
Particularly because of a particular manifestation upon your planet, which we have not found in exactly the form you have chosen to manifest it on any other civilization.
And what is that?
Religion.
But when you say religion, what specifically is unique here that you haven't found elsewhere?
The idea of the complete and total separation of the self from the all that is, and the extension of that power completely outside yourself.
Got it.
There's an Air Force or
What do you
National
got?
Guard nearby.
Anyway, while we're on that subject, there is throughout this lifetime I have really been struggling actually to get to this point. And I could see that the struggle is releasing and releasing. And in that struggle, I've realized that the thing seemingly is the most troubled is the conscious mind versus the heart, the feelings, and the mind. You understand me?
Yes.
And it seems that those individuals who, through my judgment, appear to be those who push against the change mostly are those who are what we might say more intellectually gifted. From a viewpoint of, I guess, we use a slang term, living in your head. And it seems that people who are...
May I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Now, this is not a chiding in any way, shape, or form. Please do not take it as such. But simply recognize that the pattern in which you have phrased almost everything you have said, almost none of the concepts translate directly into our language. We understand you. We are simply making a point. You have in this way talked about struggle, trouble, special gifts of intellectualness. All of those concepts are reinforcing each other within your vernacular to create your particular scenario.
Well, linearly, I thought I was creating the chain of events more or less to paint the picture. That was my purpose of doing that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And when I said to you the struggle had taken place, well, in all actuality, what I'm really saying is that was then.
Yes.
And because of that struggle, I've learned that this transformation must happen, and I've gotten myself where I am as a result of seeing that struggle.
As a result of choosing to know you no longer need to struggle.
Well, I have yet to get to the point that I could please, that my terminology is like you prefer it, but...
I do not prefer it. We are simply pointing out in that way that the vibrations of the equation of the statement you have made will still equal separation to some degree.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right.
Realize in that way that it is very much an equation.
Okay.
And thus, you'll find that to us, if we were to look at it strictly, all right, let me use an analogy. If you were conferring directly with a member of my society, and they were only used to viewing in their terms, they would not have understood you at all.
I understand that, okay? And I understand the point of conviction. What that's all
Very
about.
good.
I understand that. On the other hand, I would...
They would have understood you this way, that you were 100% of a conviction to create separation for yourself. That is what they would have understood, and would not have been able to see at this point how continuing to do so would be of benefit to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. the purpose of my asking the question was I have been going through an understanding
Yes.
of the heart and the mind.
Yes.
Okay? And it seems that following the heart really has a lot more validity than following the mind.
All right, now,
That's the point I'm really making.
understand everything has validity equally. You will still, while you are physical, use your reasoning abilities in many situations. Simply understand again, you are operating within two ideas, emotionality and thought, which are in your vernacular, I will use your vernacular, still below belief, which is still below knowing. If you allow yourself to come from knowingness, you will not have to bat the ideas of emotionality and thought against each other in order to discover those portions of yourself. You can simply let your beliefs, emotionality, and thoughts flow naturally within the overall idea of knowing that they are blending as they need to, in perfect timing.
Well, it's okay.
The conviction comes from your knowingness, not from your emotionality, not from your thoughts, and not even from your beliefs.
Well, the lack of conviction in my question to you was as a result of not wanting to use judgment on a level that you would not approve of.
We do not approve or disapprove of anything.
Okay, well...
Stop trying to please us.
Okay.
Simply come from your knowing self.
Okay, Bashar. Here on Earth, based on what I have found so far, is there is a distinction between the heart and the mind.
Can be, yes.
Okay, and that distinction seems to be, that distinction has been so far, people who are more educated tend to have a lot of fears and different ways or what can I use? Ego, and instead of just getting to pure feelings.
All right. What you are saying in this way is that those that have chosen the idea that their reality must only be perceived from the mentality will find a difficulty in connecting to experiential reality from emotion.
Right. So, therefore, I'm asking you, is it an advantage to be...
It is a different perspective. It is one that will lead to integration if you form a blending.
Really?
Of course.
The emotional side.
There are many
Both.
paths home.
Yes. Every individual is their own path. If there was only one path, there would only be one person. Recognize again that for them, what they are doing is valid according to the way they have chosen to form their blending. But simply, in what you term to be a basic formula, the idea of recognizing the equal validity of mentality, emotionality, and belief will allow there to be an integration.
Okay.
It is simply a simple equation. We are not saying that one is more or less valid than any other approach.
Okay. I assumed that one was.
Why?
Because it seemed to be what I've come up against, the great majority.
All right? But understand in this way that every being, in your terms, ultimately is already blended.
Yeah.
What you are experiencing in any way, shape, or form that takes place in mentality, emotionality, or belief is a product of the artificial construct that you call personality. Personality is designed by your consciousness out of your beliefs, emotions, and thoughts to serve the specific purposes that you have chosen to be physical for. Therefore, if their modality does not synchronize, your word, I think, is jive, with no, then simply recognize that it is an opportunity to reflect to yourself what your reality is as a comparative preference, not a judgment, a preference. And simply be on about being that reality. Do not worry about them. They are walking their own path. You are walking yours.
I'm glad I asked the question because I really had some problem with that.
Thank you.
Speaking about the idea of judgment,
yes.
In my own exploration of it, I've created some experiences in the past few days which allowed me to come to the decision that I sort of found a paradox within it.
Yes.
On one hand,
very good.
When I felt judged by other people, which I realized was myself, I felt invalidated.
Yes.
Yet when I created other people to then judge those other people for judging me, I felt righteous because then they were wrong for doing the judging. So on one hand, it invalidates, and on the other hand, it validates. Not
in a sense.
In a sense, but not really.
But understand that what you term to be righteousness is then your acceptance of the experiencing of the energy that they are creating for themselves by which they form a judgment. So that you can also experience it for yourself.
Can you say that again?
The experience vibration you call righteousness is simply what those individuals are utilizing to form a rationale for their judgments.
All right, I see.
And you are giving yourself an opportunity to see how they feel.
Oh, I see.
So now you have the opportunity to know the blending of your consciousness with the concept of righteousness and to know whether that is preferential in your reality or not. Is it?
Not in the sense of invalidating their experience or their past.
Then understand there is no need for the concept of righteousness at all in your reality, per se.
This idea is the building of the shells that you referred to before.
Are you through?
Yes.
Okay, I was relating to her question, this idea of righteousness is this building of shells that you referred to before.
Do you mean emotionally?
Well, I was wondering if the same concept. Same concept of shell people.
Yes, in a sense.
Okay.
To some degree, it is the forming of a shell that will maintain a specific viewpoint of a idea of reality.
Okay.
To some degree, it is, in a sense, yes, a judgment, and thus, in a sense, a shell.
Okay. All right. Good.
Sure. Gosh, everybody, I want to share an experience I had with a fly yesterday, and I felt like I blended my consciousness with this fly, and he came and sat on my knee, and I was meditating, and I opened my eyes a few times and noticed he was there, and closed my eyes, and then about 20 minutes go by, and I opened my eyes again, and he was still there.
And what did you share?
Happiness. I just felt, I had this thought, I felt really happy, and then I had this thought, so this is happiness. And it was like equal. We were equal. It was just a sharing of consciousness. And then I held out my hand, and I mentally I said, if you'd like, you can fly into my hand, and he did. He flew from my knee into my hand and sat there for a while, and then he flew back to my knee. And then I moved into like expectation. So then I got overzealous, and I held out my hand again, and it was more like a manipulation. I wanted to do it again, and then he didn't do it again. But he still stayed with me. But I realized I turned it into, just because, the first time I welcomed him to do whatever he wanted, and then the second time I wanted one particular thing.
Very good.
So it was like a good lesson for me.
You are thus then forming a balance within your communication idea with nature.
Yeah, and which would also assist me in my relationships with all of life, my participation.
And direct communication with your automatic creatorhood, which is nature.
Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed sharing my body with this fly, and then there's another ant on me, on the other knee, and there was some other bug crawling along me. And I just let them all be there. I just loved it. I just, just let them be there, hanging around.
Thank you.
Also, I want to ask a question about one of my guides, the one with the golden light. Do guides, I never thought much about like guides, where they're from or what. Are they from different densities? Are they?
Can be to some degree.
Okay, so the one with the golden light, the one that has been described to me, not by you, but someone else, as being very close to me and is kind of a very creative force.
Yes, it is.
Where is
the essence of the idea of the creative force in nature?
Okay, this guide, where is it from? It live?
It is, in a sense, again, a variation of the archetypal essence. But you have, in this way, co-created a blending and a shifting of that original energy you experienced as archetypal essence into your very own interpretation and consciousness. In a sense, it comes from you, but you have drawn it from the stream of archetypal energy consciousness.
Yet it's still a spirit guide?
Yes.
So it really doesn't live in any particular density or anywhere in particular?
You may, at this point, consider it to be fourth, if you wish.
Okay.
Bashar, when we work through challenges, do we pay off karmatic debts that we incur maybe in other lifetimes?
If you have set yourself up for that belief structure, yes. But understand that karma is completely self-imposed. You follow that?
Yes.
It is not placed upon you from outside. There is no outside.
So in order to grow spiritually, we do not necessarily have to go through unhappiness.
No.
We're perfectly happy
Yes.
to grow spiritually.
Yes.
And we do not incur debts in other lifetimes like with people that we have to make good in this lifetime.
You do not have to do that, no.
But we can if we choose so.
Yes.
And we usually agree to do that before we come into this.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm interested in how long ago it was when there was the exodus from Lyra, with some people going to the Pleiadian and some people coming to Earth.
We can only scan that is in the millions of years. We cannot give you an exact date. There is too much diversification within the time tracks for us to translate into any meaningful system.
Okay. Was there, the cycle that we're on Earth started about 25,000 years ago, but going back a million or two or three, was there on Earth a civilization composed of, has there been on Earth within the last several millions of years, a civilization composed of beings that were more highly evolved than the race here now?
Yes, in a sense. Many. Many different civilizations, many different epochs, and eras, and realities, and densities. Many different blendings, many different interactions from different civilizations at many different times.
In what kind of time ago, magnitude of time ago?
Again, back for millions of your years.
Okay.
Interspersed across the time.
Yes.
I have a couple more questions.
We are cognizant of at least 17.
But was there, then how did it come about that they left? Were there significant events that occurred that led to their demise or removal? And
many times, yes. Understand that simply your system will undergo its own natural vibratory transformations. Some have left of their own accord during those times. Some simply progressed to the point they wished to be and went on, not choosing to reincarnate any further. You follow me?
yes.
Some remnants of some of them still interact to some degree with your present day society. Some. Some of these ideas can be expressed in what you term to be the idea you call Sasquatch. You follow that?
That's the abominable snowman?
Yes. Some of these are beings that can, in this way, move interdimensionally from their epic to yours.
Uh-huh. Okay, thanks.
Yes, Bashar, please share in the exploration of this idea. As I lay down to sleep, before I get very close to sleep, usually some part of my body, can be any part, will jerk, and I'll experience calming, a kind of a calm sensation after that. And I've noticed this jerking sensation for many years, although prior to, say, several months ago, it would occur as I was very close to sleep.
Yes.
And then I didn't feel specifically calm, but now I'm still quite awake when it happens, and there's this calm. What's going on?
For the most part, I will say 90% of the time, you are experiencing having been just slightly disconnected from your body and then snapping back in.
Uh-huh.
Not completing the idea of out-of-body projection. Or, sometimes completing it, but not within a time track you understand, and thus simply rejoining your body.
Okay, why is it that I feel a sensation of calm then?
Because of the connection to that level of consciousness wherein you sense the overall blending of yourself without struggle and without strife and in unlimited fashion.
Ah, great, sounds good. Share in this exploration of this idea, please. Last week, I kept snagging the cord that attaches to my earbuds, my private listening device, on things, and it would pull the left earbud apart. And it happened several times in one day. I was wondering if I was trying to tell myself something, and what that would be.
No.
Thank you.
Do you believe me?
No.
Thank you. Next question.
Bashar,
Yes!
my father has been having trouble with mucus in his sinus and back drip down his throat, going into his stomach.
For how long?
About 4 or 5 months. We've taken him to doctors. They found nothing wrong with him. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Is this individual at this time coming into contact with ideas about connecting to other energies of higher consciousness? Is he beginning to be surrounded with that idea?
Are you talking about dying?
No.
Then I don't think any more than he has in the past. But I'll ask him.
In his dream states, has he been experiencing any ideas of connecting to other consciousnesses, having conversations?
My mother passed away a couple of years ago, so it's very possible, and he feels her presence.
To some degree, she is assisting with this transformation, but the original connection is not of your planet. Though it may not come to full cognition, he is beginning at this stage to increase the momentum towards at least a sub or unconscious recognition of his ability from that extraterrestrial connection to gather himself together now for the preparation of a transformation. You will find that the idea that you call in this way sinusitis will not be uncommon with those who have manifested in your terminology a direct incarnation from what they feel to be a direct past extraterrestrial experience. It will be symbolic of breathing alien air. Now, the mother is assisting by gently, in conversation and with love, allowing the father in this way to know it is all right to proceed. It is all right to bring this action together at this time for the transformation, for the leap in consciousness. Now, we sense at this time that this can be we are not saying it is 100%, can be a preparation for a jump from physical life. As of this scanning, that possibility is still open, and it does not have to be. It can be in a sense, death and rebirth within this physical life, in an awareness of the self that will totally restructure and recreate how this being looks at himself. Allow me to suggest that within the next 6 months of your time, this will accelerate along many different levels. If this being, your father, allows himself more freedom of communication with his own higher self, he can ease many of these transformations and not necessarily need to manifest them into the dis-ease which he may experience in 2 or 3 other ways if he does not lighten up on himself in the transformation. Do you follow?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Bashar, a few days ago I started channeling a being, I'm not sure if I got the name correctly.
One moment.
Okay.
What is the mother's name?
Gussie?
The vibration of the oversoul name can be considered to be Mariana, of the same individual. Using both the idea you call Gussie and Mariana will aid in forming a vibrational chant, Mariana, for your father that can ease the communication between them. It will also invoke the unconditional love within your father that is coming from the mother. You follow me?
Yes, are you saying that he should incorporate Mariana as a chant in his meditations?
He can, yes. Allow himself to roll it around in his mind. See into what position it feels most comfortable in falling into place. All right?
All right, thank you.
That will represent the areas within the physicalized mental system of your brain that will represent his willingness to form that unconditionally loving link that will allow him ease of transition. All right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes?
Yes. A few days ago, I started channeling a being. The name, I think I got it correctly, was Ardrak, or Ardrak. And is there any information you can give me about that, or how I can better channel?
For now, allow me to say this. I will let you in on a little secret.
Oh, good.
Many times, I have, in your terminology to some degree, though slightly different, wished that you did understand our language, for it would be so much easier to explain.
I understand.
However, allow me to consolidate that you are about to experience this being the first of an ancient symbolic triad upon your planet, now Earth, that is connected to your Orion connections in some degree. What you will begin with this first one will be an energy essence, in a sense, that does have, as you say, extraterrestrial flavoring to it because of the original connections that it came from. But it will represent the first step in a threesome step that will be the blending of your physical, mental, and emotional spiritual selves. Now, translated into your Earth terminology, the first name, as it has been used in your literature, will be Shadrach. The second will be Meshach. And the third will be Abednego. These will be representations to some degree of the essence, archetypal energy formation of connection between Earth and some of the Orion energy, not necessarily in a negative sense. But it will be a transition type energy that you can make use of because you are familiar with the tonalities and chords therein, and they do have direct correlation to your physical planet now with regard to the physical planet Earth's ability to also identify with some of those tonalities. This is the beginning of a new step for you and a new blending of your consciousness within a very specific type of symbol. Begin to explore that idea for now and understand that it is still to be considered at this point archetypal energy essence. All right?
I see.
But not necessarily of what you term to be original Earth origin. Though that will be the Earth's translation of that idea. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
I'll be after Don.
I have, I don't know if I asked this before, but I've recently been going to the park, and I've been doing some tree hugging. And it's a very interesting phenomenon because when I'm feeling very hyper and uncentered, I have often gone to the park and I've just hugged a tree,
yes,
breathe with it, and interesting things really happen. I mean, I settle down, I mean, I really become centered, and
you ground yourself.
And that was it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Would you recommend that for people?
We do not recommend. Why do you persist in assuming that one particular methodology that you find to be of assistance to you is something that needs to be dispensed like a prescription? It will be different for everyone. If they wish to do that, let them do it and see what they get. If they don't like it, they won't do it. If they like it, they will. It is as simple as that. No need to recommend any one particular way. If you enjoy doing it, what do you care what everyone else enjoys in that way? You may suggest it to them. If they want to, they will do it. If they do not, they will not. If you like doing it, do it. Then suggest it to them. They do not need to ask. You simply say, since you have conceived of this idea, go give it a shot. See what you think. You tell me. You come back with your version of this experience. So we may blend and increase our understanding of all the different ideas within all that is, and therefore there will be that type of a sharing within that experience. Act, act, act. Do, do, do. Become, become, become. Live it out. Act it out. Play it through.
Okay.
No need to become embroiled in the mentality of formula.
Bashar?
One moment.
Oh, I had a question.
Yes, then you. All right.
Okay. Yeah, talking about the idea of dis-ease or discomfort physically in the body. I've been doing a little bit of experimenting the last day or so, mostly today. And I found that if I place my entirety of myself that I consider as manifest in the absolute now, which there is only, but we tend to think of things as past and present.
Yes.
That the body is completely healthy in the
Yes.
moment. And that the dis-ease is an idea of past and future.
In a sense, so in a way is health. Understand that in your balanced state you are not concerned either with dis-ease or health. You simply exist.
Right. So in the moment there is not that.
There is the blending of the two ideas which will allow there to be a balance and thus no need to have physicalized experience of either polarity.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, in keeping with my exploration of persistence, I'm going to rephrase my last question. What was I trying to tell myself?
we do not know what you were trying to tell yourself.
Okay, well, the reason I use the term trying is because I looked at it, I figured, I must be telling myself something. I didn't get the idea of what I was telling myself consciously.
So
I said, well, that's fine, but I thought I might as well ask you because it feels like a good thing to do. So this discussion with you is my tool to tell myself consciously what it was I was trying to tell myself.
All right. Allow me to suggest you continue the conversation while we discuss someone else's question.
Okay.
Not you. You're next. Yes?
I wondered if you have any suggestions what I might do to improve and or save my marriage.
Save it?
Yes.
Save it for what?
From disintegrating.
From disintegrating.
From ending.
Ending. The relationship never ends. No matter what the definition of the relationship is, it never ends.
True.
Now, why do you feel that it should not transform?
It's my desire to keep it in the definition of a marriage.
Why?
Because there's a lot of love in the relationship.
There is?
I believe there is.
All right. Why will that love perish if the form of the relationship changes?
It won't.
Thank you. Then why does it need to be in a certain, specific, manifested form?
It's my choice.
Why?
I guess partly fear.
All right. Very good. Fear of what?
Fear of change.
Very good. But you are requesting the idea of stability. Only in constant change do you experience true stability.
Yeah, true.
Otherwise, you are attempting to balance on one foot.
Right.
Now, will this simplified exchange suffice?
Would you have more to offer?
Not unless you choose to create more complexity.
At this time, no. Thank you.
Relax. Understand that relationships are created to serve specific purposes. Let them transform as they naturally will. Then you will understand that the unconditional love which created the relationship to begin with will be the one thing that does not need to change, no matter what the form of the symbol. You follow me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes?
Did you want to go back to him?
We are still talking on another level.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Are you enjoying the conversation?
Well, I'm doing it at a level that I'm not consciously aware of.
Well, become conscious of it. Use your imagination, all right? We are sending you energy on that level.
All right.
Tune in.
Thank you.
All right. Some friends of mine have 2 children, the youngest of which I feel a real strong attraction to. I've considered the possibility of him being a quote-unquote child of Arcturus. I've also considered that he's reflecting...
What is the name?
Matthew Rawls.
Continue.
I've also considered the fact that he's reflecting being free, as children are, and being willing to be open and be emotional. But I feel like there's more to it than that.
Do you think you will discover it in the course of living your life? And he is?
I expect.
Do you?
I'll discover everything in the course of living my life.
You will discover what?
I will discover everything.
Everything?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean to tell me that you will accomplish everything you chose to accomplish within this life that you created this life for?
Yeah.
There will be nothing left over? Nothing dangling?
No.
You will not have any spare time at the end?
No.
Twiddling your psychic thumbs?
No.
You mean it will all fit perfectly?
Certainly.
Well, well, well. Did you all get that? Sounds great. It is the easiest thing to do. To allow everything that you chose to live in this life to be lived. It all fits perfectly. Coincidentally enough, exactly between the beginning and the end of your physical life. No more, no less. The idea of karma notwithstanding, for that involves other types of choices. How is the conversation going?
Well, what I've been discussing is the idea that most of my life has been spent in using forms of thought rather than feeling.
Yes.
And I feel that I haven't, I'm going to use the word reached, a point in my linear approach to things where I'm tuning in to psychic levels very much above thought. I feel love, I do have emotions and stuff like that, and the greater intensity of those expressions are much greater for me now than when I was younger, and I really like it, but I don't feel like I'm tuning into psychic levels.
May I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Do you know that there is really, except by the most minimal of definitions, no difference between psychic functioning and emotionality? If you are an emotional being, you are a psychic being, and you are functioning psychically.
Yes, this is what I presume.
Then understand that you do function psychically. And simply, it is perhaps your definition of what that should be that keeps you from realizing that you are doing so.
Possibly. However, well, there was a period in my life when I was almost frantic in that I was not able to understand reasons why I was doing things, such as snagging these things. And then it dawned on me, well, I don't really need to be frantic about it. I don't even need to understand it consciously.
All right.
And I'm willing not to. However, the question does come up, and sometimes I say, gee, I wonder why I do that. If I don't have the answer at that time, I either don't worry about it, or I just kind of let it ride.
All right. Here is a suggestion.
Okay.
When the question comes up, understand that at that moment you are that experience again. Go through it, relive it, use your imagination. Let it become free-flowing.
Okay. Well, I have in the past experienced what I would consider, I'm going to use this term, failure in coming up with the answer that I thought was...
We are not saying you're going to arrive at any ultimate answer in any of those experiences. But simply understand that within a life, you have many different types of life tracks or styles of addressing certain portions of your consciousness, and they will, from time to time, intrude into other levels. When they do so, simply allow yourself to experience it. Do not expect an ultimate answer at that moment. That is not what it's there for. It's there for the experience, not for the ending. It is a continuing process like your life.
Okay.
You will, bit by bit, put the pieces together until you arrive at a greater understanding. But understand that even that may not be an ultimate answer, but it will satisfy the feelings within you.
Okay. Well, what you're talking about is at a, I'll say, future time, is when the satisfaction will occur.
In a sense.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I asked you. I didn't come up with a satisfying answer at the time, although I figured, well, something such as I didn't even know how to phrase it to myself, but it was along the lines of...
Another suggestion.
Okay.
Now, even though every idea is in and of itself its own complete idea, they can work in conjunction with other ideas to form, again, a greater whole. What you are experiencing at this point, in your terminology, is not the complete picture. that little symbol needs to connect to some other symbols you will experience before you will be able to put the pieces together.
Okay.
Keep living.
Well, yes, I fully intend to do that.
Oh, thank you.
But when I decide I'm going to ask you a question, it's not because I am frantic about it, but...
Oh, we understand.
All right.
And we are willing to assist in being a reflection of the idea that you are now, at this moment, the vibration and equal to that idea. And so, thus, we enjoy sharing the experiencing of that idea of yourself with you as you recreate it.
Okay.
But we simply keep it moving.
By not giving me an answer per se.
Yes, because the answer, in a sense, even though it is created, in your sense of timing, has not yet formed.
Yeah.
Thus, we, in your terminology, do our bit by keeping the flow going.
Be it not revealing something that's not timed properly yet.
Yes, and do not have the assumption that we, because of what we are willing to share with you, really have anything to reveal. Because we ourselves, in allowing ourselves to be of assistance to you, do not arrive at the ultimate quote-unquote answer ourselves. We simply intuitively act upon the idea that what you are actually creating is a need for a flow. Thus, that is what we join your reality in.
In this case.
Yes. And in many such cases.
Right, right. Some cases, specifically...
We can see the overall picture because it is more imminent or has a different connotation. And we can recognize that there is still some exploring to do, and we would be interfering with your free will and, in this sense, your own self-empowerment. However, at this time, this is not the case.
Right. And in other cases, the question asked of you by anybody would be specifically for the purpose of tying up the ends. Well, let me put it in terms of the specific purpose for the question would be the reflection of the answer. I mean, the timing would be correct for the answer.
Yes, sometime.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I thought that was very interesting sort of a thing, because the guy over there with the nasal, his father.
Yes.
Well, you and I have gone through many, many bouts on my allergies, that sort of thing, and I have yet to get any kind of answer close to that. However, I'm satisfied. I just thought I'd bring that up. I'll do my best for tonight.
All right.
That's not good enough. What do you mean, all right?
Not good enough?
No.
All right. How's that?
I thought I'd leave you with something before you split.
Do not be offended if when we split, we leave it behind. As it does not really fit into our reality.
You have to clean your aura when you leave here.
The shift is automatic as we readjust to our vibratory pattern and become that idea.
Thank heavens.
Would you say some more things phrased in a way that you, on your planet, think?
Allow there to be the forming of the overall blending of purpose. In as such, we recognize each other as the past, present, future, thereby being awareness of the creation as such unfolded in the timing. This facet extends, thus encompassing in its diameter all facets, and thus in its adjustment and congruency with its own reality, extends within the purposes of specificity, the vibration of support, the vibration of creation, and in this way the sharing of the relationship of unlinking. Now, in that manner is still, in that way, much of a translation. In your terms, more representative would simply be projection, facet, unlink, continuance, share blend. Parameter, time frame, specificity therein of consciousness. Did you all understand that?
Yeah.
Yes.
What did we say?
I understood your version more than the version you just now gave us, the translation.
Both were translations. One was slightly more toward your vernacular. The latter one more towards ours.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And both were the idea of, we thank you for the sharing. We will speak again. We are already connected in that future time. We bid you good night.
Thank you.
How'd it go?
Good.
Very, very good.
Did you feel chip off at the end? Or was that him? No, him.
I think it's the blending.
The manifestation, like of the hand.
What's your acting now?
After this was manifestation on the stage.
Use it as a blending, or further blending. That's a shot.